Yeah, well, we're not even going to hardly be discussing that, I'm guessing in a big way, but I would like to at least be able to see, you know what I mean? I mean, I can see it on my phone, but that's seeing.
And there's usually a plus or minus button that allows you to shrink it down. I'm not sure what you're seeing on yours.
I'm not. I don't. I have there's a plus on the far right. I'm on I'm on Dropbox on the far right next to the share, show tab, overview, create a new tab. I only do that, and that's all I have. Is yours readable, Kenny?
Well, I mean, we're on a laptop and we're just at the agenda right now, so I see it fine. The agenda part.
Does it take up the whole screen?
No, sir.
Oh well.
Yeah, I would think you'd have some type of button that allows you to shrink it up. Usually it's at the bottom that tells you a percentage or allows you to do a plus or minus.
I know, I've seen them before.
All right, well, I'm going to call the Tree Protection Board to order on February 8th. First order of business is to approve the minutes from January 11th. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes they want to discuss? We have a motion to accept. They made the motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. First, old business, 185 Bamber Street, removal of 2 pines. Do we have a property owner or representative of that property?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I mean, we have the arborist letter available to us, but you want to go through and discuss what you talked with him?
Just that I had him come out and take a look at the tree because I was told to maybe get a second opinion on it, that maybe whether it needed to be removed or not. He said that that tree really does need to be removed, that it has some damage in the top of the tree. And there are some aspects about how high it sets up off the rest of the ground, and that my ground back there stays saturated, so that tree does stand a chance of either falling over or it, just causing a threat to my house.
I have a question for you, Corey. Did he climb the tree or did he just look at it from the ground?
No, he climbed the tree.
Okay, good.
But he roped himself up in the tree. He didn't officially, climb it.
Right.
Does anybody have an opinion? Want to discuss the actual letter from the arborist?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't hear you.
I was asking the committee if they want to discuss the actual letter. Do they have any comments on the letter?
Yeah, I have some comments. Now, again, we didn't climb the tree, and I don't see specific reference to the issues other than the damage that might have occurred 30 some years ago with Hugo that we could have not seen from the ground that he saw from being in the tree. We all recognize the fact that it needed some pruning. As far as the other assertions, I don't know how to politely say they are highly exaggerated. That tree's been there a long time. It's seen a lot of wet weather. It's seen some hurricanes. It's seen a lot of stuff. And my feeling is that description is way overstated. We have 2 arborists on our committee who do not have any concerns with the severity of that future of that tree. Other than, as I think I mentioned in the meeting when you were there, that yes, trees can fall down, things can happen in violent storms. The prospect of that, if not aided by something significant, is not a basis for us to approve the removal of a tree. That's the way we ruled last time, and I don't see, having looked at this again and again, how this newly categorizes itself as a highly dangerous and tree needing of removal.
Does anybody else have any comments?
I agree with Peter on a lot of this because this has said he after 30 years after Hugo and the possible damage or a concern, and now all of a sudden he's talking about this is a quote genuine concern. This is after 30 years, and it's been every storm that we've had since then, and now it's a genuine concern.
Was everybody able to hear Faye?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, sir.
I was just asking all of them on today, did they hear Faye Campbell in her discussion? Here, did you hear Faye?
Can you hear me?
Peter, Jesse, anybody here?
What
No,
anymore?
she was very difficult to hear.
Okay,
Mass has that way of doing it.
you got to move up Faye's one time. So. Faye's gonna move back up and say some, I guess, some more words, but I agree with Peter. I mean, a lot of qualitative information here, but not quantitative. I mean, the damage to the top tree, obviously none of us climbed it. Limbs can fall, those could be pruned or taken care of. As far as like the root, I don't know how you would know what the root's doing, just because it's not a bed. I didn't see any other problems with that tree that indicated there was something imminent that's gonna happen. And again, I think this was very exaggerated letter myself. I wish there was more quantitative information. But again, I didn't climb the top of the tree. So it's just my comments.
The letter says that there's a genuine concern, those are his words. And yet that tree has been there for 30 years after Hugo. And if there were concerns of limbs that need to be pruned, they weren't, apparently, and yet they're still there, still hanging on. And now all of a sudden it's a genuine concern. Yes, we realize that trees do fall, it can happen. And but if we took down every tree that might fall, we would have no trees. And we don't want to go there. So I just have a bit of a problem all of a sudden that this is a quote genuine concern. And it's been there for 30 years plus.
Well, see, there was also a big oak tree that's been over there for quite some time that also fell on the house 2 years ago that completely tore up the whole roof of the house. And that tree was probably older than that pine tree.
You say older than, well, that, we did not see that tree. We
Well,
were
because
not
it's-
have to look at that tree prior to it falling. So we have no way of knowing the condition or the situation of the soil, the tree itself, health, none of that.
But see, now I have somebody that's competent coming out telling me that this tree does need to be removed. And all I'm hearing is, you know, reasons why it doesn't when my family's the one that lives in the house. And, you know, I have an infant and all in that house, and that's a big worry to me. I just bought this house in October, so we haven't lived there that long. The couple that originally moved out, they were talking about, you know, these trees needing to go. So this is why I'm looking into this.
Mr. Morris' discussion with the arborist after he climbed the top of the tree was, what was his opinion about some of the limbs? I mean, did he mention anything about if the tree had to stay that he would suggest pruning some of the top?
I mean, in all honesty, he didn't really say anything about pruning the tree. He just said that that tree was, you know, it really needed to go. He said, I mean, not only is the one that's within 2 foot from it, you know, it has infectious disease, but those two trees are within 2 feet apart. And, you know, there's not much saying that that tree don't have the same disease that the one next to it has too. I mean, especially with all the damage and all he sees up top. I mean, if these trees weren't as close as they are to my house, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but they are within 20 foot of my house.
Bill, do you have any comments from the town's perspective?
Well, I'm in the same boat y'all are in. It's from the ground inspection. I don't see anything wrong with it. But, you know, none of us have climbed the tree, so we don't know what the condition in the top of the tree is. So, you know, I can't answer what happened if it's got a decay or anything up there. I wish he would take some pictures or something of what he saw out there so we could see what he was seeing whenever he's describing what he, you know, how bad the condition the upper part of the tree is. Would have been helpful.
Well, again, I think my opinion is I don't think that tree is going to fall. It's not imminent to fall, but I can't, not having seen the top and got a certified arborist who climbed it, did find some damage and unstable canopy based on his own words where it's cracked and damaged branching still remain. I'm not sure that this isn't something we might consider removing. If we saw trees that are in a yard and we could see some damage at the top without climbing, we more than likely would approve it. But that's just my opinion. So is there any more discussion?
I've got a question. The arborist also seems to think that those two smaller oaks should be removed. What are you as the property owner going to do about them?
I mean, that just depends on what the committee grants me permission to do or not. I mean, those are not as big. I'll get those limbs. Those, if they fall, they won't cause that much damage to a house. But that big one, when it does fall, it is splitting my house in half, not only falling on my son's bedroom. So that's my big concern right now is the big tree. I mean, whatever y'all grant me permission for, you know, that just like I said, I'm not looking to go completely clear cut my whole backyard. I have 40 trees, 50 trees in my backyard, you know, along my ditch line and all. I'm perfectly fine with the trees. The one that really concerns me is the real big one and the one next to it, the ones that don't look like they're that healthy. Because I plan on owning this house for a long time, so I don't mind upkeeping the trees, you know, and the yard and all that stuff. It's just this one's gotten way too big and it hasn't been taken care of since they built the house 20 years ago. And from what the arborist said, it's not a healthy tree.
Bill, can you confirm the large number of trees that are still on his property?
Yes, he does have plenty of trees in his property. I looked at those and they look rather healthy. So he's not gonna have a clear cut yard or anything when you get rid of this one tree.
When trees, you talk about, you know, you say when that tree falls, as though it's a guarantee, which of course it's not. But in a storm during Hugo, and this is my personal thing for me, I lived in a house and 9 trees on my property came down. And you know what? None of them hit the house. None of them. And they were close, but they did not hit my house. So it doesn't come with a guarantee that you have a storm. It's going to go right smack in the middle of your house and destroy your house. It's just, and this one has stood there for 30 plus years through other storms. So that says something positive about the root system, that it's hanging on. And that's part of what the root system is for, is to hang on, and it's doing it.
Yes, I do agree with that, but also 30 years ago, it didn't have those 4 other trees at the base of it all bundling together either. When Hugo come through, now all these trees are sharing that one raised up spot in my yard, which is maybe 8 foot around. So that obviously is not a sturdy ground anymore, especially with my yard being saturated 100% of the time because I have so many trees in my yard where it doesn't have a chance to dry.
Those trees drink up. Those trees drink up a lot of water, and you need to be really grateful for the trees and the water that they do consume, because you're going to really miss them. You take those trees down of the amount of water that you have. And when trees are together in clusters, those roots intertwine and hold on to each other, making each tree stronger.
But now, I mean, it's hard for me to say this, but I'm putting my family in I'm putting my family's safety in a circumstantial situation. So, I mean, we could what if all day. I just try to go by what the professional told me to go by. I mean, I'm not just out here trying to get my yard clear cut and knock 40, 50 trees down. I'm mostly focusing on 2 trees right now. That's really all I want to get rid of because how close they are to the house. And for my family safety, I believe that, this is a reasonable asking.
Is there any more discussion from the board?
The only thing I can say again is, or not again, but there's very good arguments on both sides. But we had this overwhelming feeling looking at the tree that it's not the threat that this arborist made it sound to be. And that's part of the problem here. I will assert again that extremes were cited here in terms of the description of the hazard of this tree. But no one can dispute your arguments, sir, as far as the safety of your family and the ramifications if and when that possibly would fall. They don't always fall all the way down either, tops break out, which isn't cool either. But it's not as if that thing's going to come down. If it came down from the roots, it'd come down gently. That's the only thing I can say about that. We've seen that. I lived through Hugo, saw some amazing stuff, as did Faye, where they wouldn't or would fall. But again, the fact that I really feel this is an extreme description of this tree has made it difficult for us.
Well, I don't agree with the assessment of this arborist. I think it is an over-exaggeration. The property owner did do what we suggested and got a certified arborist to look at and evaluate the tree. I think we made the mistake in not asking for something more quantitative. But this is what we have right now. And very reluctantly, I'm willing to accept this and give approval to remove that tree.
You want to put that in a form of a motion, Ginger?
I'd like to make a motion that we give approval to remove the second tree on the second pine tree on the property in question.
Do I have a second? I'll make the second then. Any more discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call. Peter Wallace, how do you vote?
No,
Ginger?
Yes.
Faye?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So the motion does pass.
So does that give me permission to cut the tree or no?
It does give you permission.
Well, I really appreciate it, y'all.
You'll be getting an email from us with the permit.
Sir, I'm sorry.
I said you will be getting an email from us with the permit and all in it.
I really appreciate y'all's time.
In the next
Thank
day
you.
or so. All right.
All right,
Thank you.
bye.
I'm with Ginger that I reluctantly say yes, but I don't see anything else to create a lawsuit down the road. In fact, he does have other trees. else.
So Kenny,
Yes.
in the case of a tie, it goes with the motion?
Jesse, you want to help me out with that one? If we have a tie? I
It
didn't
was-
know.
It was 2-2, right?
No, it's 3-1. They voted yes to approve it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I misunderstood Faye then.
Sorry, I didn't want to, but I did.
Okay.
All right, never mind, Jesse. All right, so for new business, 1899 Beggs Bridge Road, removal of trees for construction of a charter school and I believe we have a representative in the audience that wants to talk about it.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Casey Warfield with Kimley Horn. Appreciate your time this morning. The civil engineering site design firm assisting the owners and the owners rep with this charter school. I guess I'll give you a little bit of background on my team members also on the call, and I'll give a background on the project itself, and then we'll all be available for questions that you may have. But Ryan Companies, they're the one of the developers on this and general contractor, the design build project with them. They build charter schools all over the Southeast and very familiar with that process. And that's Max Basso and Tyler Lohmuller on the call. And also have our arborist, I believe is on the call, Forrest Evans with Natural Directions, that did our tree assessment on the site. I think Forrest is on call, but mentioned he was going to try to make it. And also have Christy Pacquiacho, our landscape architect, to help identify the tree replacement plan and tree protection plan on which trees to save and evaluate for the site. But with that said, in my background is civil engineering and site design. But with that said, the charter school was identified as a need in this area. Charter Schools USA is the ultimate end user, and they went through the state Board of Education and got a charter to develop this school in this area. They found a need for it and identified this site in particular due to the proximity of the adjacent neighborhoods and the overall surrounding area as being an ideal location for them to develop the school. And it site definitely has its challenges with the proximity to Sawmill Branch, and but it has great access with Bacon's Bridge Road and through the Sawmill Branch Trail, those adjacent neighborhoods. And so for a lot of those reasons, it's why this site was selected. So what we're asking from the board today is to remove the existing trees on site as shown on the tree protection plan. It does remove a good majority of the trees on site. We are preserving, there's some wetlands along Bacon's Bridge Road that are within a wetlands buffer, are preserving the trees along that road frontage, as well as some trees along the perimeter buffers and property lines. One of the challenges with this site, due to the proximity to Sawmill Branch, is floodplain and dealing with the flood issues with that. And in order to meet the floodplain requirements for the site and raise the building, school building pad up out of the floodplain, we needed to do an equal part cut elsewhere on the site, which necessitated the need to remove more trees than we may have otherwise. But we are proposing to plant back those areas as much as we can reasonably fit on the site, and in order to meet the town's landscape code as far as density in that regard. We didn't meet Bill on site last week to review the site and the trees that we're proposing to be taken down and walk through those. Per that discussion, he was in agreement that there wasn't anything on site of historic significance or that was in good shape and deserved to be saved. Yeah, if you've had a chance to look at the plans, you will see that there are a few oaks that are closest to the frontage, but over the years they've led to not be in great shape. And one of the main culprits of that is this site was used as a construction laydown area and staging area for when they widened Bacon's Bridge Road. The contractor used the site at that time for that. And there's a lot of compaction over the root systems and whatnot over those trees, and they've decayed over time. So it's general general background on what we're proposing to do. As mentioned, we're here for any questions, and welcome your comments and thoughts on the site.
What's the acreage of the property?
Overall acreage of the property is about 9.5 acres.
And of course, we're looking at the drawing, but to us, it's just a bunch of dots. I mean, obviously, it's a lot going on there. The total number of trees from the survey, you know how many trees there were total that were identified?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I can look that up for you real quick.
I guess more importantly, too, what percentage of trees there versus the ones that are actually being targeted for removal?
And Bill, this is Max. While Casey looks it up, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, just a couple of additional comments. Thank you, Casey, for the pretty quick presentation. But a couple of things as far as the site selection. We don't just go out randomly with our client and just pick different sites. There is a overall general area that we need to focus, and that is when the South Carolina charter school is issued. When the charter is issued, they say, okay, there's a need for the school board for an additional school in this particular area. And then to narrow it down even more, the Department of Education of South Carolina, they actually have to approve the specific site where a school can be built. And this was identified as a site that was approved by both the school board and the Department of Education of South Carolina. So it's already been approved by those, the site specific, and also, with regard to the trees and the reason why, we have to eliminate so many of those trees and then replant them is because we have to meet some other codes of the town, such as, like Casey was saying, by bringing the building back up to be outside of the floodplain. There is this requirement of compensatory storage that by filling certain areas, we have to dig certain other areas of the site. If it was up to us, we would lower the building, keep it at that lower elevation and avoid eliminating and clearing some of the trees. But unfortunately, by meeting one section of the code, and we're bound by this, where do we go? Do we meet this section and ask for a variance here? Or and so it's a catch-22, so to speak, that we're in. Casey, did you have a chance to look it up?
Yeah, so there's 182 trees that were tagged as part of the arborist assessment. There were additional trees beyond that 182 that the arborist tagged that were smaller in nature as well, that are listed in the package, but there's 182 that were assessed for their condition just based on their size.
And how many of those trees are proposed for removal?
A vast majority. There's of the trees identified, there's probably 10 or less that are proposed to be saved. And primarily the ones that are being saved are along the buffer, the wetland buffers along Bacon's Bridge Road frontage.
And this is in the wetlands, is that correct?
There are jurisdictional wetlands along Bacon's Bridge Road, yes, that were identified and were coordinated and were approved by the Corps.
And is mitigation in play?
Yeah, there will be mitigation required for the wetland impact, and the little bit of wetland impact that we do have are a result from SCDOT and the need for a right turn lane into the site, and the resultant slope tie down to grade in that it's about 0.115 acres total of wetland impact that we're permitting through the Army Corps, and there will be mitigation credits that will be owed resultant from that.
Jesse, where are we as far as the approval from the town side?
Good question.
They've gone to the Commercial Design Review Board twice now. That's correct. So they'll be returning back to the Commercial Design Review Board for final approval. I'm not sure what their timeline is for that. And from there, they could then submit for their MS4 permit.
I mean, so we don't foresee any changes from the town necessarily as far as location of buildings or roads or anything like that?
Not really any major changes. They have certain school requirements they have to meet that kind of basically determine where the building kind of sits because of the drive length they have to have for queuing for their drop off and all that kind of stuff. And they have to have a certain number of parking spaces for the school as well, and play spaces and all that. And then, as he spoke of, the compensatory storage, which is up in this area here. So it's and then they have to stay out of certain area because of the floodway. So there's a lot of limitations on this site that make make it difficult to make many changes to the site.
So Bill didn't get out there this week because it was late, I guess. Is there a requirement or a need that we go there and look? Or is this a done deal or what?
And that's up to y'all.
Huh?
I mean, that's up to y'all whether you'd like to go out there and look at the trees before making any decisions. The permit was submitted prior to our deadline, but yeah, with schedules and everything, Bill wasn't able to get out there until last week to meet with them. So it's, while I say there's limitations, I mean, there's certain minor changes that could be made if y'all find particular trees that you think need to be saved. But I guess according to Bill and the arborist, there really aren't that many of that type of tree on this site.
I'm looking at a good bit of trees from what I can tell of the drawings that are along the border that are being taken out, and I can't understand unless there's some fill going on, and I can't see where that's going in, why those trees are being taken out, and then why they're being replaced with something like serviceberry or something like snowdrop tree, which isn't an overstory, aren't overstory trees, just landscape trees, even the ilex. And the Gordonia is a shrub, and
Yes.
it's a non-native.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will say that we haven't really gotten to the point with DRB where they've really got into the landscape plan specifics yet.
Well, for sure, these trees should be replaced with overstory trees that are native.
Yeah, I mean, as far as mitigation goes, that'll be done with the requirements of our ordinance, which is overstory or canopy trees where required. We do have some requirements for understory as well, but yeah, they'll need to be certain species that meet our requirements.
And as far as the trees on the borders, I'd really like an explanation as to why they're being taken out other than convenience, and it's less expensive for them to deal with the site.
Are you referring to the ones around this area? Is that what where I'm putting my?
I can't see your screen, Jesse. Hold on, let me see if I can go to. No, I don't see your screen on my.
Can everybody else see my screen?
I can see it on my phone, but on the computer, I had the problem that I couldn't shrink this thing and I can't find anywhere to shrink it. I can see it on my phone, but I don't have my glasses with me. So, but
yeah,
I see.
No, I don't expect you to be able to tell what's on the screen on a phone.
I know, but I don't know how to shrink this thing on my on my desktop. But
And this is the first time I've seen any of this. And so to make a decision from seeing this that is difficult to assess, I just think maybe we might need to visit the property and look at it and delay making decisions on this at this point.
Ginger has a good question out there about the borders. what is the need to remove all those trees on the border area?
Yeah, I can speak to that to some extent. It's really goes back to the compensatory storage requirements for the site, and making sure that we have a no net fill situation for the site, so that we're not bringing any fill in that would ultimately cause flooding issues elsewhere. We've done a no rise floodplain analysis on the site, and trying to cut as much dirt and earth on site as we can, so we can build our building pad up to meet the floodplain requirements, that the finished floor elevation be 2 feet of the building, be 2 feet above the base flood. So that's the main reason we've pushed the edges out, and most of the trees on the edge of the site. And for those that can see Jesse's screen, this one in particular, is there were some smaller pines that in our opinion didn't meet the intent of need to save, and with what we were proposing to plant back, that we would mitigate that impact and provide a good variety of species, and while we selected what we felt like were good species of trees, we are open to suggestions, and if there's other species that you feel like you would do better, we're definitely open and welcome your thoughts on that.
So do I understand that you said basically where these trees are on the property, there's gonna be some type of disturbance during the construction, either elevation changes to build up the pad or for the retention of water?
That's correct.
I feel like if they come back with a real good landscape plan to mitigate most of these trees they're trying to take out, we'll be, in the long run, we'll have a better tree canopy in there than what we have now. And a healthier one, we should.
All depends on what's deposited on the surface.
Yeah.
And
Today's comments earlier, I agree that we haven't had a chance to look at this in detail, and I'm not saying that it wouldn't be approved once that review is done, possibly fill in with some actual drawings, in the office to look at a little bit better, along with the landscape plan. So I personally, I like to table this conversation until we have a chance to go out and look at it and review it, and maybe have the folks that are involved with the design all meet us out there too, if possible.
Landscape plan that you come up with it.
Kenny, you were kind of hard to hear there.
Well, basically, I'm saying we really haven't had a chance to look at this thing in detail, and I think it would be good for both sides if we could meet out there.
Yeah.
And take a look at it. And again, I'm not saying that this isn't gonna be approved 100% with the right landscape plan, but not having looked at it and I had the opportunity to look at the site itself, I don't think we can really my opinion, we can make a decision today. So we might want to table it until we can go out to the site and look at it.
I agree.
Those are just comments right now, so I just want to hear from everybody else.
I agree.
I'd like to take a look at the site and the plans.
I agree. I'll make a motion to that extent, that we table until we have a chance to get on the site and look at the site along with what we can ascertain from looking at the plans.
Second.
I'd second.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Any discussion beyond that? All right. How do you vote, Peter Wallace?
Yes. Aye.
Ginger Riley?
Aye.
Jay Campbell?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So Casey, that's no problem to meet out there at some point you can set it up with Bill and we can go out there and take a look at it and try to move
Okay.
things forward.
No, yeah, appreciate that. And we'll coordinate with Bill to get a time that works for everyone and look forward to meeting you on site to discuss.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. What's the, I got just one quick question. What is the timeline for the next meeting, for this to reconvene after everybody had the chance to look at in the field? Is there a set date every month or
Yeah, I think that next meeting will be March the 8th, I'm pretty sure.
March 8th? Okay,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
perfect. Sounds good.
At
Excellent.
9
Thank you.
o'clock on that Monday morning.
Appreciate
Very well.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
Miscellaneous, anything we have to have? Anything else to bring up before we adjourn? Well, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Have a second.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Over now.
See you next time.
Okay, Kenny.
Thank
You
you.
all.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.